Okay, I think we've got pretty close to a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hopefully taking a little bit of a lunch break, depending on the time zone you're in. We really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today. So just as a housekeeping item, I'll be sort of emceeing, and we'll do introductions in just a few minutes here. But recognizing also that we've got folks that are coming from different parts of organizations here and from health plans. So ranging from people who really drive and administer member communications up to folks who are leading and driving engagement strategies, gaps in care closures. So we want to be sure that we're incorporating everyone into the conversation as you hear us talk through these things. Just know that that's the audience we've got here, and that's how we want to make sure this messaging lands. And we are here today to talk about Medicare star ratings. I'm sure many of you your heads are so in the throes of open enrollment around this coming year. And so a lot of this is park it in your brain as we come up for air in January and start really trying to think about engagement strategies. How can we put this hat back on and think about star ratings and accelerating member engagement and the value that we can create there? So a lot of detail we're really excited to jump into. And just very quickly from an agenda standpoint, we'll do a couple introductions here in a minute for folks that are meeting our esteemed guest speakers or some of the Clarity folks that you might not have had a chance to meet. We're going to talk about 2022 star ratings in context. So certainly not a 101, but what's the latest and what are we really responding to as health plans in the coming year? And then get into what are some of the fundamentals and best practices when we talk about engaging that population. And that's really the part of this conversation we're thrilled to bring you with expertise from some of our partners who you'll hear from in just a moment. But I think the key to engaging this population is understanding them. And as easy as that can be to say, it's actually quite challenging to do. So we've got good insight for you there. We'll talk about integrating behavioral science into everything that we do and hopefully encouraging you to incorporate behavioral science into everything you're doing with your member communications as well. And finally, we want the takeaway from this to feel like you're empowered to take action. And so we're going to talk about the ways that we can really translate from theory into practical application and actually moving the needle on STAR's non-member engagement over the course of next year. So with that, I'll quickly give an introduction. I'm Drew Corbett. I've met many of you who I know have joined here today. I'm a Vice President of Product Innovation with Clarity, really coming to Clarity from a background of member, consumer, and patient engagement. And so have spent the bulk of the last 10 years of my career both directly in the member engagement space, was involved with a platform called WellTalk and Cafe Well, which had a pretty sizable footprint in the member engagement space, and also have a background in provider and payer strategy. So that's the hat that I'm wearing, and that's how I'll be speaking to these things today. Scott, can I give you an opportunity just to really give a view from the top on what we're doing here and why you feel it's a valuable conversation also?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to, Drew. Appreciate it. So as Drew mentioned, my name is Scott Roderman. I am a board member of Clarity and Chief Strategy Officer. I've been in healthcare IT for the last just under 30 years. And as you look at member engagement, founded a company that Drew mentioned, WellTalk Cafe Well, about 13 years ago, and specifically focused on driving member engagement. So as Drew mentioned, today's discussion around Medicare, what we've done here at Clarity, and really what we've done really for the last decade plus, is really look at different opportunities to drive engagement. When you see certain opportunities, right, you really got to look at every single touch point for the member, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, whether it's an ID card, whether it's an EOB. There's all sorts of touch points that can impact that member journey and make that member journey that much more productive and that much more engaging for all the different assets and solutions that you bring to bear. So the discussion today, specific emphasis on Medicare, yeah, this time of year is crazy, right? Nobody's thinking about how we can implement this in the next week, 2 weeks. But as we do round the corner into early 22, you really should start to think about some of the things that we're going to share today with Drew and Adrienne Tenney, who I'm going to introduce next and have her introduce herself. But I think there's some valuable pieces of information on how to really capture that additional value and additional engagement techniques to get people to, follow through with that in-home assessment, that annual wellness visit, start to close gaps, start to impact stars. There's little things that you can do and little engagement techniques that we're going to share today, which we look forward to doing. So Adrienne, if you don't mind, I'll pass it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Drew. And again, thanks to all of you for joining us today. Again, my name is Adrienne Tenney. I'm a senior manager with Engagys. I've spent the last 20 years working in healthcare, starting out in the provider space, and more recently focused on roles in consumer engagement, which brought me to Engagys in 2018. And for those of you that are not familiar with us, we are a consulting and research firm, laser focused on healthcare consumer engagement, and we support projects across people, process, and technology. So super excited to partner with Drew and Scott today to share some of our insights and best practices with you. Our hope is that these small shifts in your member communications can help drive positive change for your members and your star ratings. So I'll get us started, share some thoughts about this year's star ratings, and highlight a few Engagys best practices before I hand it off to Drew to take us a little further down the path to see what these tactics can do to drive engagement.